congratulations. I really, really like the movie.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so this is Jose Ignacio Cuenca, and this is the Universal International Generic. And David, I'd start by asking, what did the original 1978 movie mean to you?
For me, it's a masterpiece of horror because of the simplicity of it. It's Michael Myers is the essence of evil, and Laurie Strode is the essence of good, and it's a very straightforward, wonderfully told, brilliantly executed mythology.
And now we have Halloween Kills, which is the second part of the trilogy that really completes that original movie, right?
Yeah, so if our first 2018 Halloween reintroduced the world to Michael and Laurie, and our concept of Halloween Ends is to resolve that story, Halloween Kills is here as a middle chapter to make some noise and see the conflict and chaos that permeates through Haddonfield as fear goes beyond just the domestic the household and the generations of three Strode women.
Following up on what you're saying, in Halloween, it was Laurie and her family fighting the monster. That movie ended with them thinking they had killed him, but they didn't. Now it gets bigger. Now it's the whole of Haddonfield, right? Now there's even a mob.
Yeah, and that's the fun, is to see how different people deal with fear, different people deal with those anxieties, and fight or flight and animal instinct really kicks into gear. So you have characters like Tommy Doyle, who, when we first met him, was a frightened young boy with a babysitter, and now he's an empowered middle-aged man with a baseball bat.
Well, apart from, of course, Laurie and Jamie Lee Curtis, you're bringing back some of the characters and the actors from the original film. How was that?
It was just wild to be in many ways recreating my childhood nightmares. So having actresses like Kyle Richards and Nancy Stevens, just a joy. They sometimes, when you're making a film that has dark subject matter and can get relentless and heavy, and you're shooting long nights, it can be very exhausting. But the energy, the commitment, and the humor of this entire cast was what got us through. It made all of our ambitions and exhaustion and stress very worthwhile.
Following up on that, I'm wondering, what was the energy like on set on a movie that's so terrifying? I mean, the title says it all. What is the energy like on set?
Oh, that's what it is. It's usually me running around trying to figure out put out the next fire, solve the next riddle, and then this joyous cast that's all having fun and keeping spirits light, motivating us to work these long hours and to do better than the day before, and their commitment is really what got us through this. Like the force of nature that is Jamie Lee Curtis is really hard to describe. How powerful her charisma and her positive energy. I could be having a difficult night worrying about the logistics or a stunt or a house burning down, and all it takes is her smile and a hand on your shoulder to bring you back down to earth.
The truth is that Jamie has done so much, given so much to this character, and really helped you develop it, right?
Yeah, it's amazing getting her notes on the script, and I involve her in where we go, what she wears, and where this journey is going to take her. It's a very important movie in her filmography, and for me to have joined this crazy circus and be a part of it is a real privilege.
And then you, of course, have one of the scariest, most terrifying villains in horror film history. What is it about Michael Myers that is so terrifying and so fascinating at the same time?
I think it's honestly that we project our own fears onto him. He doesn't have a lot of character, and that's part of his attributes. Is he works on that primal level of a darkened room, a monster under the bed, the boogeyman in the closet, all those childhood fears that don't really go away even as old as we get.
Also, how was it for you to know that you had the support of John Carpenter?
I think it's it's essential to the DNA of Halloween to have his support, and his collaboration, his energy and ideas is really important to me. And so I sent him the script, the latest draft for Halloween Ends last night. I'll get his notes and be really appreciative of that. I'll show him the very first cuts of the movie. It's a very vulnerable stage in the process for me to show rough assemblies of the film, but getting his instinct and interests, as well as having him start to engineer the score. So it's wonderful as a collaborator, as an advisor, as a godfather of Halloween.
Speaking of the score, you already did it in the previous film. You brought back that original score that he composed back in 1978, which is honestly so terrifying. It really is.
I love the music he's done in his career throughout the years as a musician is pretty phenomenal. Particularly, I like in the flashback sequences that we have is those little musical stingers that have kind of gone away stylistically in modern horror, but in that time period, those great little reveals where the camera cuts to a footprint and you just hear those fun little musical sounds that he does, those soundscapes that he brought back for this, always bring me pleasure when I hear them.
You're also working, David, with a great production team. You have, of course, Malik Akkad. You know, the Akkad family have been behind this Halloween since the beginning. You have Bill Block, and you also have a master of the genre like Jason Blum. What can you say about them?
Well, again, it's part of a family that I was invited to join, and it feels like an honor and a privilege to not only follow in the legacy of John Carpenter and Deborah Hill and Jamie Lee Curtis, but the gang of producers that are a part of this journey with me, from Jason and Malik and Bill and the others. It's fun because they have a great, deep, passionate understanding of the horror genre as it exists today. A lot of my enthusiasm comes from films of my childhood and things like that, and they're able to help navigate a movie that is not just fan service, isn't just a retread of stories that have been told, but they're able to find a way to make these, or at least encourage us as writers to bring these into the culture and have something to say and have a good time making them.
Speaking of having a good time, we have Halloween coming up. And of course, I'm wondering what do you do in Halloween?
I dress up in costumes and go door to door and get all the candy I can. I have 10-year-old sons, so it's really fun to engineer what their outfits are, and then run around and see the neighborhood that we live in South Carolina and get a sugar rush.
You're scaring a lot of people with this movie, David. What scares you in real life?
In real life, I'm scared of cats. And I think there's a relevance to Michael Myers to that, because actually some of the anxieties I have of just the way that cats walk upon you and then process you and absorb their environments, I feel like there is some sort of Michael Myers-esque element in the feline animals.
Now the whole world's going to be able to enjoy your film in the big theater, and it's a terrifying experience. But since the dawn of cinema, audiences have really enjoyed being scared in the theater. The horror genre is one of the most successful genres, if not the most, since the dawn of cinema. Why is that?
I feel like, for me, I feel people need a release, and there's so much anxiety and hostility and frustration in our day-to-day lives that to be able to escape and have a good excuse to scream out loud, let it out. It's almost like, you see that at a big football game, just the idea that I can scream and cheer and cry when my team loses. I think that expression is really important to our psychology, our health, particularly as a collective community.
So now that Halloween Kills is coming out, and just to wrap it up, what should people expect from it?
Well, I think Halloween Kills for me is an episode of our franchise where all hell breaks loose. We get to see Michael Myers in his full form, and he's really pissed off. We get to see 3 generations of Strodes as they try to combat the essence of evil, and the town of Haddonfield is turned upside down.